A very warm welcome and greetings to Rotarian Fredricks John, who is a doctorate holder in management, director, EVP, site head of Personiv, member of NASCOM, National SME Council, member of Institute of Directors, and alumni of Harvard Business School. We welcome you, sir. Our respected Dr. N. Sundrapandian, professor and head of Adithya School of Business Management. We welcome you, sir. In this session, we, the students of Adithya School of Business Management, are here to learn practical insights regarding human resources. I invite Dr. N. Sundrapandian, sir, to felicitate respected Dr. Fredricks John.
Greetings to you, sir, Dr. Fred, for accepting our invitation and joining this wonderful occasion. And our students, as this is a regular assignment, usually we do it for our students. Learning from classroom is one perspective. The other perspective, we want them to get exposure from the experts. That eminent person, we have it with us, Dr. Fredricks John, always who is very humble enough and who is very obliged to our request, and any time we ask for it, and for education especially, and the person never says no. Actually, that's what I wanted to say. And he's with us, and you all so fortunate having today this occasion, having all the exposure, international, multinational corporation exposure, and also the expertise in human resource, expertise in general management. Welfare of people is all his motto, his aim, his mission. We could see from the relationship we have, we see he's always into people-driven personality who is with us today. And with that small note, I would like to give you all the chance to interact further. Right? It's to you all now.
Hi, sir. Myself, Shirani.
Hi,
Sir,
Shirani.
thank you, sir. According to your perception, what are the characteristics should a HR possess?
Characteristics HR possess. Okay. Well, HR is a very broad terminology, depending on what function of HR you're handling, right? There are several aspects. In fact, there is a function of HR that deals with penalizing people, you know that. So it depends on what function we're talking about. But generally speaking, I suppose you're asking from a HR generalist point of view, right? People is more important, focus on people is the be all and end all of HR. If you're not focused on your people, then you're not a person that's fit for HR. That's my feeling. And I don't know, I might be biased, but I think women make better HR managers than men because they empathize better with the employees. And since they've been able to handle a family, handling a company and a family is more or less similar. It's just the number of people differs. And in my opinion, women are better handlers of the family. And when they come into corporate world, they are able to manage multiple functions at the same time, focus on each and every member like they do in the family. They would also do that in the organization as well. And they'll know in and out of each and every person that they are dealing with. Now, this is good for a company that is small. Supposing there's a company which is large, then I think if you are planning to be HR managers, when you develop your career towards being a manager, then you have to go through each and every function. It starts with recruitment, how you would interview a person, what are the aspects you would look for in a person before hiring. For that, you need to understand the company first. The culture of the company needs to be understood, because without that, you cannot make a good HR. HR is the brand ambassador of the culture of the company. In fact, if the CEO or the founding partners, if they invest in money, and they are the funding capital partners, then HR becomes the human capital partner, right? So you need to understand uh, the culture of the company. What is the company's vision and mission? What are they trying to do? Earlier, money making was the only objective of any company. The money is invested in order to reap the benefits. That's all. If I put it in a bank, I get 9% maximum interest. Sometimes it's 3% if it's a regular savings bank account. But if I invest in a company, how much can I take back is the primary objective of any investor. But times have changed, now, especially during the pandemic, we've seen even without work, there are companies that are paying their employees. So there, the objective is not making money. It is about managing the people, making sure they are comfortable, their families are being fed every day. So, perspectives change and objectives have changed. So, as a HR person, the primary objective for you would be to understand the culture of the company. And then when you set foot and you are, finished your induction period, OJT period, all of that, then you become a brand ambassador of the culture of the company. You stand for the values of the company. So as a HR person, you need to be a role model first before expecting others to be doing what you want them to do. Um, and then that's the kind of people you will look out for when you are in recruitment. Then you go into benefits management. You ensure that you are partnering with the founders or promoters of the company and ensure that you are abiding by all the statutory compliances for which you need to understand what they are. Simply put, it's complying with labor laws, making sure you pay the ESI, understanding who falls under ESI, who does not, what is the maximum limit for PF, how much can a person invest or put aside for PF, all these things. And then, if it is a larger company, then they would also look at some group mediclaim, um, insurance, and a lot of other benefits that companies, depending on the size, depending on the market, depending on the demand, they do a lot of things. So you need to be a promoter of the human capital. You also become a partner with the actual promoter of the company, because without you, that person who invests cannot find benefits. He relies heavily on the HR department of any company to make sure that the primary objective of making money is met. Although I said, it's not the be all and end all of every business nowadays, but without making money, there cannot be any company. No company would survive if they keep making losses. So up to a point, I think you also have to pitch in and take up that responsibility of managing the human capital, which is very, very essential for every company. Now, depending on where you are placed, if yours is a very niche kind of a business, getting people will be difficult, but keeping them will be very easy. But if you have, businesses that are similar, like a BPO, a call center within the city, then attrition is a big problem. 60-70% attrition is normal for such companies, especially in Gurugram, in Delhi, in Bangalore. Because you have call centers that are similar in the kind of business, because everybody does night shift, everybody does calling. And for a meager 2,000, 3,000, people keep jumping. But if you are a graphic designing company like, Personiv in Coimbatore, I have very few competitors in Coimbatore. So if at all people need to leave me, they'll have to go to Bangalore or Chennai and find a relevant or similar business kind of company. So the attrition is lower with my kind of company. So your job is much easier. But finding people to join my company is really difficult. You know, graphic designing, not many people go and learn Adobe InDesign or Photoshop or Illustrator, right? Very few people who are inclined towards designing, graphic designing will go do that. So I have to find such people, or my HR team has to find such people, or get some people who are design oriented and then train them on these software programs and then keep them. Very easy. You know, my average tenure is 3.5 years. So you need to balance that out. You cannot keep, this is very important, you know, not many people will tell you this. And since you know, Dr. Sundar mentioned that this is going to get you practical knowledge, I'm letting you know, your company cannot survive, it does not have attrition. Let me also tell you that. It's called positive attrition. You cannot have the same person doing the same kind of job year over year, getting you know, pay rise every year, and then you know, you'll have a fresher doing a kind of job at 13, 14, 15,000 rupees, and you also have a 10-year-old 10-year experienced employee doing the same kind of job, earning about 30,000 rupees. That's going to hit you in your bottom line. So what you need to do is, of course, I'm not saying don't give promotions or pay hikes. What you need to do, ensure or recommend to the investors or promoters of the company is there should be a pathway, clear pathway for anybody who joins your company, saying, okay, you're joining as an executive today, 2-3 years down the line. You know, very a common question people ask, maybe later, earlier in the interviews. I haven't attended an interview in what, 10 years now. So I don't know what kind of questions they ask. But a very common question during those times was, where do you see yourselves 5 years down the line? You know, very, very basic question, but you need to ask that yourself, and you need to create that pathway for that employee that you hire. And then say, if in 5 years you do not reach this level, you're not going to get any more pay hikes. So set your levels and grades. Okay, at this level, at this grade, this is the maximum salary a person can earn. And then only if he gets promoted or gains more knowledge and moves to the next position or a technically higher grade position, then you're not going to give him a salary hike. So there are several things in that are required in a HR person that is, you know, part of the answer to the question you asked. Since you generalized it, I just started from a recruitment perspective and a benefits perspective, and then engagement perspective. And also severance perspective, right? You cannot have the same person doing the same job for 100 years and then you keep increasing the salary every year. You're not going to meet your bottom line if you do that. Remember, even HR has a budget. You know, you can only have about maximum 50-55% as your payroll budget. That's what I do. The rest 35% is your infrastructure costs. And, you know, of course, you need to see some profit. I need to pocket some money because I'm running this company. When I say 55% of your payroll, you know, everything that involves engagement has to go into that budget, right? All fun activities, what you're trying to do for people who are tenured. Like there are about 20-25 people in my company who completed 10 years. Of course, they joined with me in 2010. They have risen through the ranks and they're with me in my team. They all got a 8-gram gold coin this annual day. So that part of the budget also needs to be factored in when you do your payroll, and 55% is what you can do that with. I hope that answers your question. It was a general question. I gave you a very wide and, encompassing answer.
It's very useful, sir.
Sir, as you are a versatile person, how do you commit yourself to work?
Come again, please. I couldn't hear you. How
I
do
mean,
I?
making the employees to commit, making the employees to get into the employee commitments and engagements.
Oh, okay. Is that what you wanted to ask, Pooja?
Yes, sir.
How do you engage employees, right?
Yes, sir. Yes,
How do you get their commitment to stay with me? Is that what you're asking?
yes, sir.
Okay. Very difficult. It depends on a lot of factors. And people will stay with you if you offer them the standard benefits like any other company. But you need to find that niche where people feel they belong to your company. Otherwise, it's very difficult to make people commit themselves to staying with you forever. Like I said, my average tenure is 3.5 years. That means every employee who joins Personiv stays with me for 3.5 years, which is really very good because that helps me in maintaining my quality at my customer level. And my quality has been 99.5 and above for the past 5 years consistently. And without that, you will not be able to retain the customer or get new customers. So that's very important, having a good attrition rate and longer tenure with the number of people that you have. And that cannot happen overnight. That involves a lot of work. And in my case, it took 10 years. When I joined this company, we were about 175 people. And today we are about 680, 690. At one point, we were about 1,300. And because of the pandemic, we lost about 300, 400 people. But very soon, I'm looking at a number that's close to 1,000. Difficult to get commitment from the people. One thing is Coimbatore does not offer the kind of benefits I do at Tidal Park or Chill SEZ or Ratnam Technopark. If you compare the benefits that Personiv provides, it's much, much more. One thing for sure is the salary that we offer. It's just 13,000 for a fresher who joins us as a process executive. That's the lowest level we have. And that salary is the same as what is paid by TCS or Wipro or Infosys for a similar role, for a person starting at a similar role. Nobody in Coimbatore does that. There might be higher salaries for technically qualified people. I'm talking about process executive, people who just join a back office BPO, who, they're capable of doing all the back office kind of work, no voice involved, no technical skills involved. The only differentiator between me and Infosys or TCS would be the night shift allowance because they work out of a metro city. Otherwise, I'm on par with the salary anywhere in the country. So that is appealing to a lot of people who join me. Unfortunately, not many people like the night shift. Unfortunately, when I used to do night shift, it was like from 1996 to 2006, I did night shift. I used to convert my day into night. You have to change your biological clock, take care of your health, and work night shifts. Let's face it, everywhere you go, you are bound to do night shift unless you get a government job. And if you're happy doing a government job, you don't have to worry about night shift. But if you are going to join a private limited company, which is into the outsourcing business, night shift is mandatory. So people need to understand that. And we lose people because they fail to understand the balancing of night and day and changing the biological clock, end up having health problems. Well, health problems that could be avoided is what I can say. But it's an excuse is what I call, because women employees, when they want to get married, they say, I want 2-3 months time before my wedding to go back home and regain my health. So I cannot stop laughing when people say this. So unfortunately, we have to do night shift. But what do we do differently from other companies when we offer night shift? We ensure that people are able to come to office when there is still light, or when there is still public transport available. So my shift timing is 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. and 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. You have public transport both of these times. So you can comfortably catch hold of a town bus and come and land up in Hope's College and walk down to my office. And I'm providing 6 buses that are plying around the town, picking up people from pickup points. For example, from Sarvanampatti to Tidal Park, from Ukkadam to Tidal Park, from Ondipudur to Tidal Park, from Tudilur to Tidal Park. So people who have to switch buses, they feel comfortable because we provide transport from those points. And they are comfortably coming to the office in air-conditioned buses without the hustle and bustle of a public transportation facility. So that is some benefit that we offer other than, unlike other people. Of course, there are companies that provide doorstep pickup and drop. But if you look at their shift timing, it will be at 6 p.m. in the evening, starting at 6 p.m., ending at 2 a.m., right? Difficult time. Or starting at 2 a.m. and ending at 11 a.m. Again, a very difficult time. So you can't expect people to stick to such a company for a longer period of time. Another type of commitment that I get from employees is through my social responsibility initiatives. I think that has worked a lot because as soon as anybody joins Personiv, they are told that they will be part of a program that gives back to the society, and at Personiv we call it being human. Every single employee has to be part of that program. And it's not about the money we give the beneficiaries. It is about the time we spend with them. Unfortunately, during the pandemic, that wasn't possible. But every team leader in my company, I have about 40 team leaders, each of them has a target of 4 outreach programs in a year. And they have to go find new orphanages or old age homes where there are lesser privileged people than us. Where we go spend our time, understand their problems, try to solve their problems. So our employees understand that they are a privileged lot. They have food on the table, they have clothes to wear, they have families that are looking after them. There are companies that are looking after them, which these people are not privileged to, because everybody in this world, I think, needs to understand the term gratitude. And once you have that sense, I think most of your health problems also will get solved. And I think that drives many of my people towards commitment. That is because that is one reason why we started the Rotaract Club in Persona. And there were about 120 people who willingly joined and did programs. You would see them on the streets, traffic signals, creating awareness on masks, on vaccination, on seat belts, on helmets. One program I am proud of is we adopted a tribal village where teachers would not go. They were the most unfortunate kids because they had no access to education. They did not have smartphones to join online classes. So my Rotractors went there every week during the pandemic, except the last 2-3 weeks because transport was not allowed. Since September, when they opened up the roads for transportation in 2020, I mean, we've done about 36 weeks of classes for those kids. Can you imagine 10th standard kids? They don't know subtraction, addition, multiplication, tables. They don't know ABCD, they don't know IE, very pathetic condition. Because they are tribal village, they are forgotten. Nobody cares what they did. And, that kind of commitment was shown by the employees without me pushing them. They got involved themselves and made sure that they completed this program for at least 35, 36 weeks. That's a commitment that comes by itself because of the opportunity provided. And in addition to that, when people think that they are able to make a difference to the community, and the organization is enabling that process, I think they would be more committed towards the organization, because this is more than what you can expect from an organization. You stay in an organization because of the salary, but not all companies would give you the freedom to choose your project and go do that project on yourself. Of course, there is Infosys Foundation, and all big companies have their foundations because of the CSR law that has come into place. We are not covered by CSR, but we still do it. And in those companies, it's different. You have a CSR board that decides what to do, and then they directly transfer the funds to an organization that does such programs and gets done with it. That's it. Here at Personiv, we involve our people every single quarter. Every single team leader takes his team out and goes to such places and makes the team understand how privileged we are to be working for Personiv, and how we need to reach out to those underprivileged people. So I think getting commitment is not a one-time activity. It has to be continuous. It has to be sustainable. And you can't just do it just because you want to market yourself, you advertise yourself, get some name and fame for yourself. No. If you want to do it, you have to do it consistently. I said 36 weeks continuously is not a joke. You're not just doing it for a photo opportunity and putting it in the papers or newspapers or magazines. It's commitment and making a difference in the lives of tribal children. Now those children are exponents of Silambam. Can you imagine? And they know to operate a computer. One of the children there has, has undergone a course for NEET, and she's awaiting exams. And 35 weeks back, they didn't even have an Aadhaar card and community certificate. We made that all possible. So imagine the satisfaction in the lives of people who went there and did this. So I think that's the kind of commitment which rubs off on the rest of the company as well, and people stay. Several people stay because this is not a very pressurized situation. It's very easy. We don't have time constraints. We have 5-day turnaround times, sometimes 12 hours, sometimes 24 hours. This is what I, as a recruiter, will look out from you, right? Not the numbers game. It should be a strategic game that you guys are going to play when you enter corporate world. Because there are hundreds of other people who are willing to do the mundane kind of work. You can get an executive do the database collation, creation of IDs, all of that stuff. I don't need an MBA doing that. An MBA needs to add value to the management by being a strategic partner. Otherwise, there's no use of doing an MBA at all. Okay, I think I've answered your commitment question, Pooja.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Hello, sir. I am Murugan. Nice to meet you, sir.
Hi, Murugan.
Sir, could you please share us your view on employees' motivation?
You want to get my views on employee motivation?
Yes, sir.
Okay. let's see. I think part of my answer to the previous question was partly an answer to your question now, but then as Dr. Sundar mentioned, commitment from employees is a more strategic approach to engaging employees in keeping them with you. While motivation, I think, is a day-to-day exercise, and that can be achieved with incentivizing a person, maybe on the monthly stack or on a day-to-day basis. Simple things go to motivate a person, like just a good morning or good afternoon whenever you meet that person and smile, because that means a lot when they get it from somebody who's in a good position, right? A better position than them. I play table tennis with my employees, no matter who they are, right? Process executives or managers or whoever. I spend 1 hour minimum every day in the sports room. So I get to meet people, mingle with them, play with them. What better way to engage with them and talk to them as a peer, other than being in the recreation room, right? So that motivates a lot of employees. They think, oh, Fred sir enkudu pesitar. That's a big motivation from them. Likewise, there are tricks to that. I get my HR manager tell me who's celebrating their birthday today, and then I make it a point to go meet them in person, wish them, give them a small gift, or the gift. So if you go give it to them and wish them, they're so happy and motivated, and they think they got the biggest prize. So that motivates them, makes them come back to office and expect more the next day. A simple, town hall where we recognize people. I used to do it in the, floor where we do the production activities. Later on, I realized that people want to stand out, right? Because they've been toiling hard to put in a good performance. So what I did was I created a red carpet area. So at least 50, 60 employees every month will come stand on it, take a picture with me with a certificate saying you did a good job. And that's a big thing for them. And it's not very materialistic, it doesn't cost much for me to print a certificate. But that one picture will stay with them forever saying, oh, I did great in this company. And I see I won a award. And I can understand when people carry such awards, certificates, when they go in for other interviews with other companies. And I receive resumes saying, Wonders Award for doing this every month and all of that. And that kind of simple things motivate people. And since you are HR, I'm telling you this, there has to be human touch in everything you do. And it never has to be materialistic. Just a hi from you would mean a lot for somebody. There have been people in the hospital, at least 4 people have been in hospital from my company because of COVID. I spoke to each and every one of them. And that would have been a huge motivation. And I don't know if it was because of my call or whatever. They are back at home now. They're all good. And one of them was really very sick and they're back. And I think mentally, if you're healthy, physically, you'll be fit as well. And we try to do that at Personiv. We do a yoga program. Last pandemic, when everybody was sitting at home, we used to do it every 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. To help people beat stress and be healthy. That is a kind of motivation. Now, another unfortunate kind of motivation is my employees know that I have blocked off 5 rooms with 1 oxygen concentrator. If at all anybody gets sick and they need an oxygen bed. So that kind of insurance motivates them. And some of them want to give back to the company, right? Company helped me do this through this pandemic, and I want to give back to the company. That's the kind of Well, it brings in commitment as well, answering Pooja's point. And as Murugan said, it motivates the employees as well. So not only that, we have about 18 rooms blocked off. If at all something happens and people are not able to move around, we can at least have 36 people stay in one place, for training purposes or operational purposes, make that as a war room kind of a thing. So these are small things that you can do to ensure that your employees stay motivated all the time.
Thank you, sir.
One small insights I would like to get into sharing before your question, Shirani. So usually people look into two perspectives into the leadership. I think you are the right person to ask, and I have this platform to ask. One, they talk about leadership. The other one, they talk about leaders' action. Yes, sir. Leadership in the sense they have the style, predefined style. They wanted to just go for it. That is the kind of culture they develop and nurture with the team. The other one is through their action. They wanted to develop and perform and get it to follow. So in your perspective, which one stands dynamic and different for the current scenario?
There are other ways people put the same question as well, Dr. Sundar. They talk about the difference between a boss and a leader, right? And then they talk about servant leadership. And I think servant leadership is pushing it too far, but then we've had people who've done that in the past. And for example, Mahatma Gandhi was a servant leader. He would do his things himself, but by being an example for others, he was able to motivate a lot of people. The whole of India rallied around him for the freedom struggle without any weapons. Who can do that? So very huge changes can be made by the way you portray yourself. And like I said, I talk to everybody, right? There is no difference between the boss and the employee in my office. There are no politics. You cannot get promoted to a position in Personiv just because you know somebody, right? I am this manager's machan, so I will get promoted. Now, that doesn't happen in Personiv. Neither do I discriminate between anybody, right? We never ask for, what religion you are from. We never ask from what community you're from. We celebrate all festivals equally. Diwalikkum sweet கொடுப்போம், கிறிஸ்மஸ்க்கும் கேக் கொடுப்போம், ரம்ஜானுக்கு எல்லாரும் நமக்கு பிரியாணி கொடுப்பாங்க. So everything is common, transparent, and people are motivated because of that. That's also one point there. But more important than that is people getting motivated to copy that. I've seen that happen as well. If Fred was in this position, what would he have done? Would be one of the questions people will ask in teams that are brainstorming over a problem. So that is something I consciously train my managers on, and I tell them every time, if you have to move up the ladder, right? If from an associate level you want to become a team leader, you need to groom somebody who can take your place that you're vacating, right? If I do not have proper managers supporting me, I cannot be the executive vice president. I will be a manager managing the team. I cannot be strategically thinking. So I need to groom somebody to manage the team so I can go higher and do the strategic planning and thinking and all that. And when we do that, we groom somebody just like ourselves or even better. Only insecure people will share lesser knowledge than what they know, right? Fearing that the other person will take away this person's position. So that is coming out of insecurity. At our office, that doesn't happen. So that is why we have all these processes and procedures all written down. If you have to manage this process, what are the steps that you need to follow is all black and white. So even at a team leader level, there is time to think strategically rather than going, point by point. Okay, every day morning, 5 minutes, I need to have this briefing session. Then I have to assign the work, and then I have to do this. So everything is process oriented. When that happens, it's easier to learn, easier to share, and easier to groom somebody. And when that happens, you become a leader yourself and also create other leaders that can take your place when you are ready to take up a higher responsibility. I think that works best for me.
More into action.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Yes, Shirani, sorry. Yeah.
I have about 15 minutes.
Yes, sir. Yeah, we'll finish it up. Yes, Shirani, proceed. Anyone else?
Can you please share us the workplace ethics you follow in your organization, sir? Workplace ethics.
I think they shared just before, right? Being fair to everybody. I think almost in a different forms. I think Dr. Fred has shared that. I could see.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. See, unlike many companies or many colleges, I don't know how it is in your college. In my office, I allow relationships. I encourage relationships, meaning, there can be lovers in my office. They get married. We have a lot of couples in the office. It helps me in my attrition. I get to keep good people staying with me, both husband and wife coming to the same office, going back, maybe at different times, maybe at the same time, but it helps people in some way or other. The only thing I tell them is, if you are in a relationship, personal relationship, you cannot be in a reporting relationship. That leads way to bias, right? So one of the ethics that we follow is nobody who's in a relationship will report to each other, right? Like there's a couple that are in love, and then the guy is reporting to the girl who's a team leader in the same team. That doesn't work well. Likewise, manager or associate in a relationship, they cannot be in a reporting relationship, but I allow them to work in the office, but in different teams. That's one kind of ethics we follow. Second is transparency, right? Everything is transparent. There is a maker, there's a checker, there's an approver for all of these things. Third is you cannot get promoted in persona if you know somebody in persona, because the promotion process is so stringent that you have to appear for a written exam, then a group discussion, and a panel discussion. In a panel interview, there will be heads of various departments sitting together and analyzing the person and giving their scores. And then there is a common consensus that's formed, and then after passing that, they undergo a 6-month future team leader training program, and then only if they pass that, they become a team leader. So it's very fair and straightforward. Nobody can beat this unless we are running short of talent inside and we are hiring for a team leader from outside. This is the process we follow. And then we have a code of conduct that takes care of all ethical issues, which are, very, very common. You will get it out of a HR portal somewhere. And first thing is, when you join a company, check if they have a code of conduct, and if at all they have one, has it been approved by the labor department? That's very important. Without which, later on in life, you might end up in problems. You'll have to go to the labor court. But if you have something that's approved by the labor department, I think you're good to go.
So what kind of training do you think is the more effective one, on-the-job training or off-the-job training?
You need to understand why you are trying to do a job. Because without that understanding, what amount of practical training is not going to help. எதுக்காக செய்கிறோங்கிறது புரிஞ்சுக்கணும் ஃபர்ஸ்ட். அதுக்கப்புறம் தான் என்ன செய்ய போகிறோங்கிறத சொல்லி தருவோம். So classroom training is very important. So anybody who joins Personiv will have to undergo an induction and orientation program. And earlier it used to be for 2 days. And since now it's happening from home over the internet, I think they've reduced it to 1 day. First day is about talking only about the culture of Persona, what opportunities people have, how we work, what we do, how we give back to the society. So people joining us for the first time get an understanding of what the company is. And then this happens inside a classroom, right? And then next 2 weeks are into technical part of the training. Why are we in the job that we have been chosen for, and what do we do in this job? So that has to be explained first. You have to get an overall understanding of where your work is fitting into a bigger cycle. And then you tell them the technical aspects of how to do that job. And then you put them on the job training. So without getting an understanding of what my work is supposed to be doing in the bigger scheme of things, whatever you teach me about doing this and that, I might be doing something erroneous. There might be errors in whatever I do. So I think this is equally important to have on-the-job training as well as classroom training.
That means coming with induction, orientation, then on-the-job training. Right, sir?
Induction, orientation, process training, and then on-the-job training. But before on-the-job training, we also have a cutoff where we put candidates through a testing process. And we need to be sure they've understood the process properly. Only after that we put them into the OJT.
Then you get them into socialize with, like you have everyday evenings, 1 hour you are like playing with everyone. Just socializing even happens. So that brings commitments to them. So total plan, that process has developed. The training process is very detailed for us, I think. Murugan. So I think one more question anyone wants to ask, otherwise we can close. I think it's getting late for Dr. Fred.
I have 8 minutes.
Yeah. Any questions, any one of you?
No, sir, I guess most of the questions were
Pooja's
already answered by.
So just one more clarity I would like to ask, sir. So how do you go with the grievances which emerge on the way when you the day-to-day things? How do you manage such situations? What's your advice on that in general, from your wisdom for the young people?
Unfortunately, sir, people who do not like what you're doing will always be there. Even like a company like Personiv, our engagement score is just 93. So there are people who are not satisfied with whatever we are doing. That might be because they don't understand why we are doing it, or they simply don't want to give you a better score. You can't predict why they do that. But then can you come again with the question, please?
In case of us, you said one side is the satisfaction of people and so on. The other side, grievances. Sometimes it pops grievances.
Right. So this 7% might not have a grievance at all with you, and the 93% which are engaged, you cannot say that they don't have any grievance at all. So your channels of communication need to be open, and that is why, although we have a separate recruitment cell where new hires, they come in, take the tests, attend interviews, and they're not brought into the production floor till they join us. So that's separate. But all other HR functions are planted inside the production floor. We have 3 modules of about 45,000 square feet. And each module has at least one person from the HR department. And that person's job is to walk around, talk to people, understand what they're doing, if at all they have any grievance. And of course, people have all sorts of grievances. And we need to ensure that we are available for them to come and talk to us and tell us their grievances. And then not only that, if you do not take action on the grievances that they bring to you, they're going to lose trust. So taking action and letting them know that this is the action that you took, whether it resulted in something positive or negative, also you have to inform them. Keep the communication channels open for any grievance to go through that process. If it doesn't, then it's going to backfire on you. If somebody comes and tells you a grievance and then you don't take action, that's a problem. Somebody comes and tells you a grievance, you take action, you don't communicate it back to that person, that also is a problem. If that grievance involves a majority of the employees in the company, you don't make it public, that also is a problem. So you have to make sure that you're communicating with the people all the time. We also have an internal complaints committee that deals with sexual harassment kind of cases. Can you imagine? We've had at least 2 cases in the past 2 years, and one was against me actually. So these kind of grievances does creep up, and you have to address them. Otherwise, people will think that you are on the wrong side, right? You're putting things under the carpet and just closing the dust for now. You have to address it as a HR person. If there is a grievance that comes to you, we need to make sure that we are addressing it and we are communicating back to the person that brought up that grievance, that we have taken action. The internal complaints committee is a requirement by law. And first of all, people with real grievances only come to you. There would be somebody who has, cynical intent, want to shame you or, bring bad name to you, like it happened for me, that would start off something. But then internal complaints committee has to have representation from an NGO, from an advocate. And then if you're not able to solve it internally, then you go to the labor court. So all these processes are laid out, and you have to ensure that if you have a sizable number in your company, you advocate such a committee and take care of that kind of a grievance. Otherwise, you will be in big trouble later on. So in my case, actually the case turned up, upside down, and it backfired to the person who launched it because there was no truth in it, and the intent was known, and it's with the labor officer, and unfortunately with the pandemic, the judgment hasn't been passed. But I think the case is closed already, and you're in a better place because you had your internal complaints committee and you addressed it and you took it through the right path. I think that helps you a lot. So when you're joining a big company, don't just join a company and be an employee. You need to strive to become a partner. Otherwise, it's not going to help you. It's not going to help your career. You're not going to learn anything. Okay, so make sure you do that. I have.
I think that's a great session, sir. I think yes, time is getting late. Thank you very much for
Pooja
your time.
had a question, I think, before you asked the question, sir.
Yeah, anything? Few quickly.
I want to ask the same question, sir.
Same question. Okay. Your question was on grievance. Okay, great. Thank you. I hope I was able to answer your questions and give you a practical input on what I feel was good. This might not be true for all companies that you join, but companies that do care for employees, care for the people, and give you your due respect as a management person that's come into the company to add value to the position and not just fill the position. Be a strategic partner rather than somebody who just does, database management. I think all these points will be useful for you. And Dr. Sundar knows, anything, any help, I'm here. We can always discuss. Thank you.
Sure, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you for your time, and have a very good evening. And we'll meet up in another occasion. Thank you, all of you.
Sure.
Thank
Thank
you,
you. Bye-bye. All the best. All the best.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.